On 28th May 2023, it was Menstrual Hygiene Day, and we got talking with a couple of women, and we discovered that many women are actually experiencing challenges with menstrual hygiene. One of the untold stories about menstrual hygiene is actually management of used menstrual products. It is estimated that the population of Entebbe municipality is 70,000. If we are to assume that the population of Entebbe is similar to the population of Uganda, 51% of the population of Entebbe is women. So about 35,000 women reside in Entebbe. At least 18,000 women in Entebbe alone that are menstruating. And when they menstruate, they end up using menstruation products. The majority of women in Uganda have been found to use disposable pads. 52% of women in Uganda are using disposable pads. That means that in Entebbe alone, if you quantify it, there is likely at least or about 2 million pieces of disposable pads that are ending up in Entebbe's landfill. Remember also, Entebbe is the gateway for Uganda, with over 5,000 tourists using Entebbe International Airport a day. We have to assume that those travelers through Entebbe International Airport have at least menstruating women. Entebbe is also hosting State House Entebbe. State House Entebbe hosts a lot of guests regularly. Meetings are held there. State meetings are held there, but also there are many hotels around Entebbe which have meetings. All of those meetings are attended by a significant number of women, and therefore not only does Entebbe have to be concerned about the menstrual products of the women who are resident in Entebbe, but it has to also be concerned about the menstrual products that are being used by other women who are visiting Entebbe, coming to Entebbe to attend meetings, but also traveling through Entebbe International Airport. So the volume of pads that are coming out and are ending up in the landfills in Entebbe is high. The major challenge why menstrual products, disposable pads, the single-use pads are ending up in landfills in Entebbe is because there are no systems for the collection and destruction of those materials. And the whole system for collection and destruction of disposable single-use menstrual products has to have, first, period-friendly toilets for women. Those female period-friendly toilets is a clean toilet. It can be a flush toilet. It can be a pit latrine, but it has to be clean. Most importantly, they must have a special bin for the disposal of disposable pads. But currently, that is not the case. Now, the challenge that Entebbe has is there are very few public places, if at all, that have period-friendly toilets. And therefore, women are having to end up carrying their menstruation products in their handbags or in their pockets, take them home. When they reach home, they will mix this medical waste with other domestic waste and other waste, and it will end up in a garbage skip. A public health concern, because all the garbage collectors who come into contact with a disposable pad or a single-use pad that contains menstrual blood, their health is in danger. There are also in Uganda scavengers who go into garbage skips, but also who go to landfills to scavenge either for food, but also to scavenge for reusable plastic bottles, especially. And so you can imagine the situation where you have medical waste, disposed, used pads within the garbage that garbage collectors are touching with their bare hands, and also within the waste that is ending up in the landfill. Medical workers say that, for example, if a woman is menstruating and she has hepatitis B, anyone who comes into contact with the pad that contains blood of a person that has hepatitis B potentially can get hepatitis B. On the other hand, when you look at the environmental concerns, when pads end up in the landfill, the environmental concern first is pollution. If it rains, the water from those pads, runoff water, can end up in water bodies. In the case of Entebbe, the major landfill is upstream, uphill, near Lake Victoria. So it is quite likely that whenever it rains, the water comes into contact with a used pad that has been thrown into the landfill, flows into Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is a source of water for humans and animals. It is also a source of leisure where people are swimming in the water, but it's also a source of fish. So the fish are drinking contaminated water, and then we humans are eating that fish, and we wonder why we have failed to stem diseases such as hepatitis B. SIPA Uganda has taken note of this public health concern and environmental concern. It is important to note that if these pads end up in the landfill, they cannot be easily destroyed because they do not biodegrade. It takes a minimum of 500, even up to 800 years for plastics to degrade. Yes, 90% of the composition of a menstrual pad is plastic. 90% is plastic. That means a menstrual pad in a landfill in Entebbe will take at least 500 years to biodegrade. But there are also studies which show that plastic never really completely biodegrades. It might break up into small pieces, but in the end it will remain in our land and it will choke our land. So the only way that menstrual products should be handled is through incineration. They must be handled in the same way as medical waste. So SIPA Uganda would like to conduct empirical research that will enable us and Entebbe Municipal Council to understand the extent of the problem, but also which will enable Entebbe Municipal Council to enact relevant bylaws, to come up with the relevant policies, to come up with plans and budgets to ensure that there are period-friendly toilets and that they are incinerators that are sufficient to destroy the used pads so that the pads stop ending up in the landfill. SIPA Uganda is planning to pilot its menstrual hygiene campaign in Entebbe municipality. We will work with young women in Entebbe who will be selected, skilled in terms of using theatre for development to ignite conversations in Entebbe. SIPA Uganda is also delighted to reach out and work with other actors such as the Rotary Club of Entebbe, who are passionate about intervening on issues that have significant impact on the lives of the people. SIPA Uganda will also make sure that if the pilot project in Entebbe is successful, this will be then transferred and taken to other cities that are probably even having a bigger challenge with menstrual hygiene management.